Yo, welcome back to the hot take, guys. We're here yet again for another one, and as you can see, it is the Glimpse Update PTS Notes slash show. We're going to be showing off a little bit of things that I found particularly interesting about the show that went down on Thursday. So hopefully uploaded this video Sunday, if not somewhere within that weekend, because they have the beta update. So in case any of you guys want to try to get into there and get that little test server going, definitely wanted to have this posted so you kind of know what's going on. I think there were like 3 key takeaways from this update show that I kind of want to take note of. One, obviously the new world glimpse, that you can see on stream or screen right now. My God, words. The other things are a couple of UI element changes, or just things they're trying to do to improve your quality of life, is what they called it. And then lastly, a few character changes, some of the weapon changes, and it's not really worth mentioning. A lot of that was just a radical bloom, so we're going to skip past a lot of that, and we're going to kind of dive straight into that glimpse, the UI changes, and the couple of character changes that I think are particularly of note. So I heavily recommend just going and watching the update show, because they do go over things they wanted to do as far as down the road, cosmetics, emotes, that sort of thing, and give more detail than I'm about to go into on the character and some of the changes. So to keep this one short and sweet, let's get right into it. So this is what Glimpse will be carrying: assault rifles, so ARs, SMGs. She's going to have the Nightshade and the Night SMG and the standard P12K pistol. She's using the Kukuri, and she has a new gadget, a pop smoke. They described it as kind of like the Simtex that just sticks to the ground instead of like blowing up and do damage. It's just poof of smoke, which is actually in the footage, which you can check out. The things about Glimpse that I really want to talk about are the abilities, the active camouflage here, and then the passive slate here. So camouflage activates your suit, you become much harder to see as long as you have energy supplies that last, and moving faster and or taking damage will make it easier to see, which you'll see on screen. I'm gonna flip to in just a moment. One thing they don't really mention is that she has this meter, which I didn't put in there, that will appear once you're in the mode, that I guess determines how long you stay in it. But they didn't talk about, like, when you activate, do you activate there, or do you have to wait for the meter to fill? So can she like continuously go into this thing, which really wasn't talked about. So I guess we'll have to see when the character's out. But let's take a look at the actual active camouflage and how it actually looks on screen. So here we go right here. Now, as you can kind of see, if you focus on the radical, there's the glimpse coming in and out, and that must be the meter draining, going down and back and forth. And they also talk about giving different visuals. When you standing completely still, she was almost unseeable at all, but when she's running around there, you can see there's like static on the screen, stuff like that. And she also will have different camouflage modes for when she's crouching. There was like a little hint of her head there on the screen. Like, there's not much detail, so like the slower you move basically, or the more stealthily you move, you'll have different levels of camo from there. All right, so the passive, and this is where they talk about like her backstory in the beginning of the patch. If you watch that, or the update show, she's genetically engineered senses that heighten, allowing you to periodically detect enemies around you. So it actually displays as little arrows or lines on the screen that hover kind of above where your radical is on the screen, and will show off the general direction of enemies around you. So let's take a look at that now. So I know it's difficult to see if you don't know what you're looking for, but if you look right above the character radical on the gun, and kind of pay attention to when the radical is on the wall, and you can see like these little orange lines and a little triangle above the lines, kind of like a radar or an echo sense. Just pay attention to the radical where the gun's pointing, and then look above it, maybe like an inch up or so on your screen there, and then that's where the radical is, which will display where enemies are kind of in the relative direction on screen. And so this activates within a 20-meter radius away from Glimpse herself. So that is glimpse and a rapid highlight. As you can see here, we've now got her perks on screen. Let me try to enlarge this a little bit for you, just a tiny bit so you guys can see it. She gets Nimblehand, Hunters, Padded Steps, Stalker, Life Drain, Tracker Rounds, and a new perk not seen. And those are the kind of the cool things I thought about Glimpse. So at the end of this, I'll kind of give you my thoughts about the character as a whole, but let's move on a little bit further down and let's check out some of these UI elements that they were talking about. So they call it Project Saint moving forward. And here are some of the changes that they tried to focus on that improve quality of life. So weapon frame rate, to identify weapons and their behavior types will be displayed actually on the HUD in the bottom right, and you'll see that once we switch, as well as right now a unique crosshair for the DMR. Instead of the dot with the lines around it like in a plus sign, it's going to be a circle, which I kind of like. And they talk about switching that for all guns or making it toggleable for you to see. I definitely want that radical instead. Also, they were talking about armor, and what's going to happen is there'll be like a bar displayed above the character's health bar, which you can see the armor as a visual that way, to how much damage is left on there, as well as like a shattering effect. And then lastly, they talk about, you know, blocking players that you don't want to have contact with, but you can get more details from them there, and if you watch the update show. But for now, let's take a look at that radical and what some of the changes look like as far as that's concerned. Now, if you look right above, when he crouched down, he repaired his armor, and you see how there's no blue line above the red line? That was the visual in place, and as the armor goes away, that blue line completely disappear. And if you look at Anvil, you can see the circle radical that I do like a little bit better than the crosshairs. For some reason, I feel like that circle is a lot more visible. I don't lose it tracking my eyes. Now, also in the bottom right, looking at the character gun, the Bishop, it tells you what type it is. It's a semi-automatic. And that's super helpful if you're not sure, or you're picking a rogue for trying things out and you didn't actually have time to look at, you know, their gear and what they do. Well, everything, they're trying to put things and make it more accessible so that you can see stuff on the screen. So there, as they've gone in full view, bam, you see how that blue bar disappeared, a lot clearer there. And then you can see the name of the weapon on top of the ammo count. All right, so the next big thing change, as far as I guess kind of works with the UI other one, is the battle zone changes, whereas you can see there's a lot of visuals that they're changing here, and then stuff of how the crates look. So this is part of the UIs. Bam, this is an example of the crate change here on screen. So let me blow that up so you can take a look at that a little bit clearer there. And they're going to be brighter in color, has the Rogue Company logo appear on screen like that. And so, and you can kind of see how it's going to look here in game. So this is what it's going to look like when you're flying down. Now, I feel like those blue crates are really noticeable dropping down, and they'll stand out, especially against the backgrounds. As you land and start moving around, you'll get a better feel for how they'll really pop off of the screen when you're moving. So they're quite visible and really easy to detect once she runs into one. Bam, right there, blue really stands out. So all the crates will have their rarity colors really pop and come off the screen, so that it's a lot visually easy to detect, see, and check to see which ones are open. As you can tell, like the look of it open and close, way better visually. Lastly, I want to talk about the rogue updates, or rather the rogue changes that affect, technically speaking, 3 characters in particular, but they only really go over 2 of them in the stream, or the update show, depending if you watch it live or not. Rogue and V by far got the biggest one. So Rogue and V, my god, sorry, Secret and V got the biggest changes. Trench got a sneak buff in here. They just made the target much larger to see. So when you're deploying the barbed wire, it actually is the full radius of the wire now. So let's take a look at what secrets are going to be, because They are an increased shield size of 15% and an increased shield bash damage of 50%. She also gets an increased crouching movement speed. So the cool thing about the increased shield size is it actually makes it harder to shoot her feet when she's crouching. And they don't do a very good job of showing that off in the update. So let's take a look at here, and this is the shield size there, and you can see it's quite big. Her head is in the glass there, but like you can't really hit her body straight on. Now there's no like corners peeking out or anything like that, and it's pretty strong. Legs are pretty exposed standing up, but when she is just not moving, like you're gonna have to get a really good angle off on her in order to get past that shield now. And that crouch walk was so fast, but you can see there wasn't very much space on her feet there. Next, we're going to talk about V here. So they gave her a new passive, and what that new passive is, it's a portion of the firearm damage you deal will return to you as maximum health, up to a maximum of 125. So instead of them just standing in that poison to get that 125, you can actually just shoot them for that 125, which I think is going to be a huge change for her and pretty helpful, since they want you to play her as like a defender and kind of help her hold down that zone. So we're back here looking at the view, and bam, as you can tell, if you look at her health bar on the left there, it went from 125 to 150. Also, they still have those UI elements, the blue shield gauge for the armor, as well as the nightshade telling you what type of weapon it is and how automatic it is. Now they're in the battle zone testing ground, so that's why she starts with 125 on default. And the color on her health bar is green to indicate that health gain from the siphon. So that is the hot take as it is. More or less, these are the new changes that I think are coming that are most relevant to speak on. Obviously, Glimpse new rogue is gonna be great. So my hot take on Glimpse, I don't know. She seems just like a slow Lancer, to be honest with you, or like Lancer 2.0, 1.5, Lancer variant, whatever you want to call it. I feel like they're going to fill the same role, pincer slash flanking type degree, right? You get in and she goes invisible, you can't see her, she comes up on your 6, takes you out. I think she's going to get the exact same amount of play that Lancer does, and that's all it really is. It's just a different way to play Lancer. Now, I'm sorry if that offends or if you like or hate Lancer, but I suppose we will see how it actually turns out once you get your hands on her and can play her in game. And if the Invitational, if you guys have caught that at any indication, she's definitely going to see a lot of play there, as Lancer was all over that in certain game modes. So I don't see her being any different. Anyway, that was the hot take. Again, definitely check out the update show. Link will be in the description for you guys to catch that, as well as the link to these notes so you can read through some of the finer details that we overlooked. Check out those cosmetics and stuff like that. Until next time, peace.